Hello, and welcome to the talk today, Hospital Mattresses, Significant Contributors to Hospital-Acquired Infections. My name's Dr. Eddie Hooker. I am an epidemiologist and a professor in the Department of Health Administration at the Xavier University in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm also a practicing emergency physician at Mercy Health here in Cincinnati, Ohio. Conflict of interest, I am the medical advisor for Trinity Guardian, the manufacturer of the launderable bed barrier. At the end of today's presentation, participants will be able to do the following things. Explain why modern mattresses require multi-step process in order to be effectively cleaned and disinfected. Explain how hospitals can overcome the challenges of cleaning modern mattresses that are now made of polyurethane, which makes them a soft, porous surface. Discuss how to identify and mitigate mattress damage in hospitals, and describe best practices in mattress cleaning, disinfection, and maintenance. So hospital beds are now high-tech, reprocessable Class 2 medical devices. This is not the same bed from 40 or 50 years ago. The surface of the mattress, or the cover, is manufactured using polyurethane-coated fabric to ensure what's called moisture vapor transmission. This is in order to prevent pressure ulcers. Unfortunately, because of the advent of multi-drug resistant organisms, healthcare organizations have been using increasingly harsh chemicals to clean these mattress covers. None of these chemicals are actually approved for polyurethane coated fabric, which is what almost all the mattresses are made of now. So manual reprocessing of the hospital bed just does not work. I don't think I have to work real hard to convince you of that. I think you know that these beds are not being cleaned adequately. So in almost all healthcare facilities, the bed and the mattress is reprocessed with a manual single-step process. This results in the mattresses remaining contaminated, causing mattress failure from the chemicals being on the mattress cover, rusting the bed frames, and causing healthcare-acquired infections. So how big a problem is this? Well, ECRI named mattresses the #2 healthcare technology problem. At least 70,000 healthcare or hospital onset CDIs each year, and transmission of CDI from the environment is a huge issue. So there's been multiple studies looking into this. One of them said that you were 6 times more likely to get some sort of HAI if you on the bed that someone else had previously been in that room with that HAI, and 3 times more likely to get a CDI. So you don't really want to be in a room that somebody had an infection, because the beds specifically that the patients lie on most of the day and the room in general is just not clean. So we are exposing patients to dangerous bacteria that were not removed from the bed and from the room. So I did a survey a number of years ago in 2019 at the APIC conference, and we showed that at that time, of the couple of hundred people that were in the room, 86% were using a single-step process at their hospital. Only 14%, were using a multi-step process. Wow. So that's a huge issue. So using a one-step process is a problem, and it's such a big problem that the hospital bed manufacturers tell you don't do it. The manufacturer's instructions for use have all changed. The FDA in 2015, after the whole debacle with endoscopes, required all bed manufacturers to document a process by which their product could be reprocessed. What I mean by reprocessed, cleaned, disinfected, and ready for the next patient. The new instructions for use of the major manufacturers all have 5 to 6 steps. A one-step process where you're going in and wiping with one chemical wipe, it violates the MFUs, and therefore it's against the Joint Commission standards, and you are setting yourself up for lawsuits. You're setting yourself up for Joint Commission violations, a huge issue. So what are those 5 to 6 steps? Well, pre-clean, removing the big pile of poop off the bed. Rinsing after that. Cleaning prior to using a disinfectant. You got to remember, disinfectants don't work very well if there's a lot of bioburden there. It actually makes them not work well. So you're supposed to clean and then rinse off the cleaner. Then you're supposed to have a completely separate and different step with disinfection. That's not part of the cleaning. Then you rinse again, and then you inspect the mattress for damage. I think most of you that are listening to this talk say we never do that, and most hospitals do not. So what the heck changed? Mattresses used to be like the 65 Chevy. It had a vinyl seat, the Chevy did. Well, the beds were made of vinyl, and they were pretty bulletproof, and they tolerated these chemicals that we put on them, but they didn't breathe. And so patients perspired in them, and it caused skin irritation. So we moved to trying to get away from those vinyl covers, and those vinyl covers had an expected life year of about 10 years. But we needed to stop having bed sores, and the belief was that by getting rid of that perspiration and letting air through there, we could help with that. So everybody started making what are called MVT or high MVT porous surfaces. These microclimate, you may have heard that term, mattresses, they only have about life expectancy for the mattress cover of 1 to 2 years. That's only 1 to 2 years. I guarantee you the people listening to this talk right now, many of you all have mattresses that are 3 years old, 4 years old, even 6 or 8 years old. Those mattresses are way beyond their expected life, and many have failed. We'll talk about that. So I showed in a study I did in 2012 that 83% of terminally clean beds, cleaned with a one-step process in a hospital, were still contaminated with bacteria, including many multi-drug resistant organisms. We told the housekeeping staff, we are going to be monitoring you. And they still only got 17% of the beds without bacteria. Here's the list, the usual suspects, MRSA, VRE, Pseudomonas, all of them, Klebsiella. All of these are sitting all over those mattresses after they've been cleaned, quote unquote. So this single process does not work. So CMS says that you've got to follow the MFUs on the Infection Control Surveyor worksheet. Surveyors are instructed to cite for lack of compliance. So just recently, just in the last few weeks, the American Medical Association recommended that the AMA work with accrediting bodies and interested stakeholders to make sure all possible and appropriate care and maintenance measures be undertaken to mitigate infections related to hospital beds and mattress use. This is a huge issue. The AMA is even recognizing that we're not doing what we're supposed to. Joint Commission has jumped in on this. The hospitals must do a lot of things, but one of the big things is they must maintain, these beds must be clean, and the whole environment must be clean. So anyway, you cannot just ignore this. You can't say, hey, we can't do it. Yes, you can. So they talk about reducing the risk of infections related to medical equipment, devices, and supplies. And I think all of us, I've been in the hospital for almost 40 years now, all of us have seen the Joint Commission come through in most recent years about the endoscopes, but they are going after contaminated devices of all sorts. So Joint Commission statements on manufacturers' instructions for use, recommendations for medical devices, and CDC recommendations. I'll quote them. It is important to understand that each patient care item has its own instructions for use, for cleaning and disinfection, and the expectation is that the organization will follow those instructions. Failure to follow such instructions or misuse creates significant risk to safe and quality care. So why do you need to follow the MIFU? Well, the MIFU, failure to follow the MIFU will result in contaminated mattresses, which will cause hospital-acquired infections. That's the real reason. I think everybody that's listening to this talk today cares tremendously about our patients. We all do. We all want the best for our patients. How can we not fix this problem? How can we let this just continue to go on? Yes, we all need to turn the beds over quickly because we've got patients waiting in the emergency department, or we're going to have to cancel surgeries because we don't have beds. I get that, but we owe it to our patients to make sure that we're not giving them infections. So what happens is this is from the CDC talking about contaminated surfaces. Colonized patient or infected patient contaminates the surface. If we try to clean and disinfect and don't do our job and fail, then we get healthcare personnel get it on their hands, and we have a susceptible patient, and now that patient either gets colonized or infected. We have got to do better. So the CDC, surfaces contaminated with microorganisms serve as reservoirs pathogens. This is all right off of their website. I think the link's on the previous page. Many of these microorganisms are continuously shed or spread by direct skin contact onto surrounding environmental surfaces. These contaminated surfaces, reusable patient care equipment that is moved between rooms, and if you don't know that, beds move around the hospital like Trojan horses, carrying infection from room to room, from ward to ward. So you can get transmission to the next patient who occupies the room or uses the same equipment, or contamination of the healthcare providers. Therefore, the CDC says cleaning and disinfection of environmental surfaces is fundamental to reduce potential contribution to healthcare-acquired infections or healthcare-associated infections. Inadvertent exposure to environmental opportunistic pathogens may result in infections with significant morbidity and/or mortality. I don't know how much clearer it can be. CDC has jumped into this one. So why do these one-step processes fail? Well, again, first, the fabric's changed. So we've gone from this hard surface with the vinyl that didn't breathe to a very porous polyurethane. So one-step process do not provide a second cleaning step. If you clean a bed and clean it again and clean it again and clean it again, of course it's going to be cleaner. Well, if you separate the steps of cleaning and disinfection, you're going to end up with a cleaner, better disinfected bed. Manual wiping is inconsistent at best. It just isn't sufficient to get it re-wetting. I walk behind environmental service people who are wonderful people who, again, want to do the right thing if they're given the right tools and given the right amount of time. They might use one wipe for the entire bed. It's barely got any wetness to it by the time they're done, and they're just kind of spreading around the bacteria all over. Disinfection requirements change due to MDROs. So, it used to be that the bacteria weren't that hard to clean. You could probably do it with soap and water. Not anymore. Clorox, this is from their own information. They basically say their wipes aren't usable with polyurethane. Well, guess what? That's what all the mattresses are made of. And if you read on there, it's a 1 star. It says visible damage to the surface is likely with long-term exposure and some effect on material integrity is possible. Surfaces should be wiped with a clean, damp cloth immediately after the contact time has been reached to reduce the risk of damage. Okay, the people that make the wipes tell you you can't do this as a 1 step, okay? Or you're going to destroy the polyurethane. They're telling you, just like the hospital bed manufacturers are telling you, you cannot do a single step. So let's look at some damage, okay? You can just see the mattress or the polyurethane on the right here. So basically that polyurethane should be very, very thick, and now it's down to paper thin, okay? So that's not going to be able to withstand the normal wear and tear. The adhesive layer is basically gone. So basically this polyurethane is just going to crack, and you can see the fibers down there are the actual cloth. So these mattress covers are actually made with cloth that's coated with polyurethane on top. There are some that are actually polyurethane with the cloth out, which I don't know how in the heck you would clean. So even repeated cleaning fails to disinfect. Mannion in 2012 showed that elimination of MRSA from hospital room surfaces is often challenging, with approximately 1 in 4 rooms remaining contaminated with either one of these organisms, even after 4 rounds of cleaning and disinfection. Oh my gosh. So these people were cleaning the living heck out of the bed, and they still left 25% of the beds with bacteria on them. So wipes actually spread the contamination. That was my experience when I did the study in 2012, where we showed that after terminal cleaning, the bed deck was actually dirtier. I don't know how to pronounce this gentleman's name. I'll let you take a guess. In 2020, showed that disinfectant wipes are used. They contaminate previously uncontaminated surfaces. Wipes still had viable spores on them after use. So you're just spreading C. diff left and right. Now we've got Candida auris. I hope you have not had that in your hospital, but you may have already. And if you haven't, you probably will. It's an emerging threat, very hard to kill even with bleach. And that's even on hard surfaces, okay? Soft surfaces is even worse. Quaternary ammonia doesn't really, products don't really work. Remember, the mattress is porous and soft, so you're just not going to get rid of this stuff. Recommendation from some of the experts I've talked to about CRS, they literally burn all the mattresses and destroy and throw away anything in the room to try to break these outbreaks. So what does the FDA and CDC say? Well, let's cover that. Mattress covers prevent mattresses from being contaminated with bodily fluids and substances. Okay, they're talking about the inside of the mattress. Linens are not considered a mattress cover, so don't think you're helping the patient at all with that linen. Okay. Disinfect mattresses with a disinfectant that's compatible with the mattress cover materials. Well, I already told you that the Clorox says this isn't compatible, and all of the chemicals you're currently using in your hospital, if you grab the chemical and read the side of the wipe or the chemical, it says for hard, non-porous surfaces. A mattress cover today is soft and porous. So you're using a chemical that is not compatible. Cleaning and sanitation is 99.9%. You're supposed to remove 99.9%. Disinfection is between 99.99 and 99.9999. That's a big difference, okay? Pre-cleaning must be done to remove visible soil, moving the poop that you see on the stretcher off first or off the bed, and then cleaning to remove non-visible soil. Efficacy claims on hard surface disinfectants are not applicable to soft surfaces. So all those chemicals you got, I guarantee you 100% of them, it says for hard, non-porous surfaces, it is not approved for use on these porous polyurethane mattresses. Excuse me. So for disinfection, we need a log 6. So we need to remove 99.9999% of bacteria. Well, I already told you the one-step process is not even close, okay? It's not even doing. If you only get a log 1 reduction, so I remove 90%, okay, you will get recolonization. They've actually had studies where they showed the polyurethane mattresses that were cleaned and let sit, they actually continue to have bacteria grow on the surface. So this is a mattress with glow germ on it, and it shows all the bacteria that are coating that would be coating a mattress. All right, so continue on the theme. One step doesn't work. Quaternary ammonia compounds get less than a 1 log reduction. And the surfaces, I already told you, were still contaminated in multiple studies. Hydrogen peroxide, peracetic acid, if you can stand the smell, only gets a log 2 to log 3 reduction, not that log 6 we need, and did not reduce C. diff infections when they studied it in 2015. Bleach failed to reduce C. diff counts and did not reduce C. diff infections in the Better D study, Anderson study with UV lights. They were also looking at whether bleach worked, and it didn't, and UV lights didn't work either. You must pre-clean in order to get efficacy in bleach. Remember, I told you that disinfectants only work if the area is clean first, because if there's a high bioburden, it actually basically inactivates the disinfectant. And then we all know, everybody knows that bleach is destroying your mattresses and your bed deck. Okay, everybody's got bleached out mattresses, mattress covers all over their hospital. UV light reduced C. diff counts only by a log 1 in Anderson's study or less. From 2013 and 2017, and Randai from 2017. And in the Better D study, it did not reduce C. diff infections, which was the primary outcome of that study. And I hear that study quoted by people that manufacture UV lights all the time, that it worked. It did not work. It was a failed study. It only decreased a little bit of one type of bacteria. It shows that it absolutely is the nail in the coffin for UV light. Why anybody still buys a UV light, I don't know. So UV light doesn't work. Chin, 2019, UV light added to bleach did not work for terminal cleaning. Patients became infected with MDROs that remained after cleaning. Healthcare Ontario, 2018, systematic review showed that evidence of the value of UV light is extremely poor and the costs are huge. Anderson study, as I've already said, it didn't decrease C. diff or MRSA. It did decrease, I believe it was VRE. No bed manufacturer that makes bed mattresses and covers recommends UV light for disinfection. Not one. So damaged mattresses, unfortunately, very common, okay? If you say, oh, we don't have damaged mattresses in your hospital, you're telling me that you're not looking, okay? Marks, 2018, 32% of the hospital mattresses were damaged, had to come out of service. Bradbury, 2014, 27% of the hospital mattress had failed, had damage on the interior. Study I did in 21, 72% of the hospital mattresses had damage. 340, or 47%, about half of the total number of beds, needed a new cover. But again, same, just like Bradbury and Marks, I showed 25% had failed. This meant they had blood and fluids inside the mattress. So if you don't think you have damaged mattresses, you're wrong. Go look. You can't just look at the outside. You've got to unzip it. So in my study, a lot of the mattress damage was the holes in the cover that you don't see all of those with the naked eye. We only detect a small percentage of them with the naked eye, but about a quarter-ish of them total. But guess what? If you used a light and shined it through, you could see the holes. Stains on the interior cover, that means blood or fluids or betadine or something has breached the cover. There's an example. So a quarter of the mattresses had that. So top cover was 30% and bottom cover was 26%. So these mattresses, if you don't think you have failed mattresses, you need to go look. But that requires unzipping and doing a real deep look. So again, I showed 72% were damaged and 28% were not. But look at, there's another example from that hospital. You can see the blood on the inside of the mattress. And I've kind of already covered this. So a huge number were totally failed and about 340 were just the cover. So you look here on the left side, you've got a mattress with soiling of the fabric. That mattress needs to be replaced. The cover, at least, needs to be replaced. Fluid immersion, as soon as you have anything inside the mattress, the entire mattress is garbage, and the whole thing needs to be replaced. And whether you realize it, that cloth on the inside that's covering the interior of the mattress is actually a fire cover, and that is required to be intact, or the patient could actually, the bed could catch fire and the patient could die. And that's going to be a major liability. So if you open it and that fire cover is all damaged, like the cover or like the mattress all the way on the right, that mattress needs to come out of service immediately and be completely replaced. Everything from the interior to the cover. Oh, I hope you don't have a lot of these, but I bet you do. If you've got older beds, older than, probably a year or two, and you've been using bleach and quaternary ammonias, I'll bet you got rusted beds. Well, any bed with rust, most health departments make those beds come out of service immediately. They have to be sandblasted and powder coated. This costs thousands of dollars. You can't do that yourself. You're going to have to send the bed out and pay to have it shipped to the factory that repairs it. It's not usually done by the manufacturer, usually a third party. In the study I did, 65% of the beds, or 9%, had widespread rust. 110 had localized rust. Every one of those needs to be repaired. So patients are being put at risk. When we asked a bunch of participants at the 2019 APIC conference, had they seen mattress failure, half of them had seen mattress failures, and only the other half had not. This is just, again, that picture. It's a little bit bigger than I think I already showed you, with blood inside of the mattress. Infections related to mattresses. There are a number of studies that I'm going to talk about, but I think most people don't publish it when they realize they had a bunch of people that were killed by the mattress. I'm proud and very respectful of these physicians that say, hey, listen, we need to run this up the flagpole because we're putting patients at risk. So this is a study out of France, outbreak of Enterobacter cloacae associated with therapeutic beds, 4 deaths, 18 infected or colonized. That's horrible. And guess what? They replaced all the beds and the whole mattress, the inside and the cover, and it stopped the outbreak completely. Vander Mee Marquette, multi-resistant Enterobacter cloacae, another study, therapeutic beds, 15 colonized or infected. Cadeau found extended spectrum beta lactamase producing Klebsiella pneumonia outbreak from incubators, revealed that incubators were the pathogen reservoir in a neonatal center. So we've got 21 neonates infected. All of the mattresses were contaminated, replaced all the mattresses. Guess what? Stopped the outbreak. So this is a huge issue. Mattresses are killing people by giving them infections. Risk to future occupants. So this is the study that looked at HAIs, and so you had a 500% increase in infections if the previous patient had infection. So you're just, throwing the dice on this if you get into a room that had a previous patient with an infection. So damaged mattresses have to be replaced. So this is a picture on the right of chemical damage, striations caused by the chemical. So the FDA, the CDC, ECRI, and all of the manufacturers recommend routine mattress inspection. So if you're not doing an inspection of all your mattresses, you need to be. And replacement of mattresses with any visible signs of stains, wear, or damage. So all of those mattresses with those stains on them, they should be out of service. FDA, CDC, ECRI, manufacturer, all of them tell you now, out of service. You've got a huge problem on your hands. Damaged mattresses are linked to outbreaks, HAI outbreaks, and deaths. You cannot put this off. This is a no-brainer. You've got to do something. So in 2017, the FDA at that time had already received 700 reports of mattress failure and patient exposure to blood and body fluids. That's just the people that took the time to report. I guarantee you there are thousands more than that. So they said that every hospital needs to develop a safety plan, that you develop an inspection plan, and they need to all inspect their mattresses, remove and replace damaged mattresses and stained covers, and maintain covers according to the MIFUs. So if you're doing a one-step process, you're violating the heck out of this. So you need to follow the MIFUs. That involves an adequate inspection, and the manufacturers recommend inspection every time you turn the bed over. Every time. We'll get to that. Maybe we haven't done it for 3 or 4 years. That's not acceptable. You need to be doing it every time you clean a bed for a new patient. So what can you do? Well, one thing you can do is just follow the MIFUs. That's going to take you a while. If you do the 5 to 6 step process, which is what you need to do, then you are going to do a couple of things. One, you're going to help protect your asset, because removing all that chemical and not letting it sit on there will protect the asset. But you're also going to probably take 45 minutes to an hour just to clean the bed. Just the bed. And I know how quickly our housekeeping staff or EVS workers turn over the beds. They're usually given 30 minutes total. Some hospitals I've been talking to say 20 minutes. You've got to follow the FDA's recommendation for routine inspection. This means unzipping it. All of these beds, not every stretcher has it, but all the beds have a zipper, and you unzip it all the way around and you lift it up, and you're not going to enjoy it. I would recommend highly wearing a mask and full gear to protect yourself, because you're not going to like what you find when you open your mattresses. Mattresses, don't expect them to last more than 1 to 2 years. You got to plan for it. You got to budget for it. I know every hospital, including the ones I work in, are on a tight budget, but this is not an option. If it's me, my mom, my child lying on a bed, I expect the hospital to provide a clean surface. So the FDA says that you should regularly check each hospital mattress and cover for any visible signs of damage, such as cuts, tears, cracks, pinholes, snags, or stains. Remember, you're not going to find the pinholes unless you use a light. So you're going to have to shine a light all the way along the mattress. Open the cover. Again, most have zippers. Look for staining and wet spots inside and immediately replace. Not next week, not next year, not 3 or 4 years from now. Immediately replace, not repair all damaged mattresses. So there are people out there that have got patches. Don't do it. CDC says don't do it. FDA says don't do it. You cannot do it. Those patches are going to end up with bacteria up underneath them. They're going to peel up a little bit. There's no way that you're going to get them actually clean, those mattresses clean, as soon as you put the first patch on there. So forget that one. Don't do it. You can do the launderable mattress cover. Some manufacturers have covers that can be removed. They manufacture the cover. They say you can take it off and put the interior to the side and then wash it. That is really hard to do. If any of you have tried that, it is not easy, and good luck finding anybody that's going to be willing to launder those covers. You can use a cover that is actually made to be laundered. So you can find a cover. There's only one, a barrier that is actually intended to be laundered. You can't just go buy a plastic cover from Walmart, okay? Because those plastic covers are vinyl and they don't breathe. So you've wiped out all of the work we've done trying to prevent pressure sores. You have to use one that's made of material that actually breathes and has MVT. In order to earn a contact hour, you need to use the Terry Goodman and Associates provider number CEP 16550. They are the providers for CME or C nursing credits through the California Board of Registered Nursing. You are responsible for documenting your attendance as a requirement for the CE credit. Following the presentation, attendees will be given a QR code to access to an attendance form for our providers who will send you an email invitation to complete an evaluation. The evaluation, remember, is important. You have to do that in order to get the CE. If you have any questions, and I wish I could have been with you in person, but if you have any questions, you can certainly email me at hookere@xavier.edu, and that's Xavier, no Z in it, and I would be delighted to provide you any of the articles that I have referenced, and I would be delighted to talk to you in person if you have questions that I can answer. If you need anything, please do not hesitate to contact me. Have a great day.